I've met a lot of these people via Zoom, right? Send out our Calendly link. Hey, you want to get together and have a conversation? So I've met a ton of other deal makers, and you see their face, and you think you kind of get to know them, and you are friends. But when you see each other in person, it's like family reunion, and you're like, oh my gosh, I finally get to hug you, or I finally get to see you.
Welcome to this episode of the success journey of real estate investors. Hi, my name is Brooke Ceballos Pinheiro. I'll be your host for today. Our goal of the show is one, to hear from deal makers who have closed on their first deal, and two, find out what Michael Blanc products and programs help them along the way. Let's get to it. So today we have Melissa Elizondo. Welcome, welcome, Melissa. How are
Thank
you?
you. I'm good. How are you?
Beautiful. I'm good. I'm hot, but the AC is keeping me cool, so I'll be good.
Yeah, I met the first day in Texas. It hasn't been over 100. Like it's only like 87 right now. So
Yes,
it's nice and cool outside.
I know. See, it's just that's why I got the hair. I know it looks like it's like a Beyonce look intentional, but it's a fan.
Uh-huh. Nah, I love it. Love it.
Hot, keep it hot. So tell me a little bit about yourself and what you're currently doing now with your real estate business.
Okay. So when I got into this, the reason I really liked it is because I was a residential real estate broker for about 12 years, and I did property management. So I had about 450 single family doors that I managed for a long time. So when I was listening to Bigger Pockets and I heard Michael Blanc talk about apartments and scaling, I thought, this sounds just like single family, but with more doors, different terms, same scenario though, right? And so it felt really familiar to me, and I thought, yeah, I want to do this. I want to see if I can do this. And that was in 2020 when I heard him on Bigger Pockets, uh and signed up for his online course, because at that time they weren't doing anything in person. So he had a deal online. We went through that and learned all online.
Perfect. Okay, so that was kind of you covered my next question was how did you hear about Michael Blanc? And so you had heard from him on Bigger Pockets, right?
Correct, correct,
I'm a
correct.
member of them too. They're a wealth of
Nice.
information. They also have a book out too. So yeah, that's
Yeah,
great.
yeah.
So out of the products, so you got introduced to Michael Blanc by hearing Bigger Pockets, you joined his online program. What would you say was the biggest part? What segment, or maybe there was a multiple products and segments that you feel truly contributed to your success?
So for me, it was the mastermind group. So there was a mastermind group that we could go into and ask a lot of questions. And that's where I met Julie Peterson with Old Capital. And she was able to kind of introduce me to our first sponsors. So our first deal is because she made an introduction for us. And that alone was what catapulted everything for us, because once we closed on that first deal, the next two came faster.
So what Michael Blanc says is true then, right? The law of the first
The
deal.
law of the first deal. Yeah, you
Close
don't know
one
it
and
until you
the
do
rest
it.
will come. The rest will come.
Yeah.
That's great. So it is the value of the network that he brought. So someone who
Yes.
was following, and I'm part of the group as well. So I think I know exactly who you're talking about.
Yeah.
So it was a collaboration segment that really truly catapulted your success. So that is
Yes.
awesome.
And
So
even on his live events, like Dealmaker Live, for instance, the last one he just did in Dallas, I met several investors there that have invested in deals with me since. And so that's like the network. I can't say enough about that. Don't just, if I were to tell somebody what to do, I would say, don't just learn the business and then stay behind your computer the whole time. One of our goals is to get out to a major conference for multifamily every quarter at least. So when we went to Dealmaker Live in April, that was it April or June? It was June
I
1st,
want
I
to
think.
say what, yes, I want to say it was June.
Yeah, that was, it's really important to not only, when that was the best event I've ever been to, by the way. And I've been to several. And so I actually told Michael this myself. He asked me on LinkedIn, like, what
Oh,
did
you
you
got
like
to,
about it? Yeah, I got to
oh,
meet him. I got to talk to
nice.
him. Um, and he said, what did you like about this conference? I said, you talked about the state of the market right out the bat. I mean, markets were changing immediately for us. We saw interest rates going up. We saw prices starting to come down. That hard money, earnest money thing was going away pretty quickly. And so I think sellers were coming to reality, and we were not knowing how to have conversations with some of our investors. And right out the bat, first day, he was like, let's talk about the state of the economy. And he gave us so much as far as tools are concerned and knowledge and resources, that the conversations with our investors right after that were so easy. It was exactly what we needed. And I also loved how day one was novices for people who hadn't done their first deal yet, and day two was really focused on scaling. So if you've done your first deal, how to multiply from there. And I told him I really loved how he put that whole thing together. So he said he'll let the team know that it's working. Let's just repeat.
Just keep it
Yeah.
moving, keep it going. You know
Yeah.
what? You touched on something a minute ago, and I kind of want to elaborate on it. You mentioned the value of in person interactions opposed to online because post COVID, people are so used to being behind a computer and doing this type of interaction, which is great, right? But tell me how you feel in person interactions differ from your experience of connecting with, say, Julie online.
Yeah, that was fun. So I've met a lot of these people via Zoom, right? We show send out our Calendly link. Hey, you want to get together and have a conversation? So I've met a ton of other you know, deal makers, and we've and you see their face, and you think you kind of get to know them, and you are friends, but when you see each other in person, it's like family reunion, and you're like, oh my gosh, I finally get to hug you, or I finally get to see you. And it was great because it felt like the in-person meetings is where everything solidified. It was the Zooms are like introductions into the life, but when you're sitting down and you're breaking bread with somebody, or you're having a drink with them, and you get into the nitty-gritty of their life and their goals and what you're doing, and you start this beautiful collaboration of, oh, have you my SEC attorney was there, and he introduced me to another client of his, and then now
Nice.
we're like raising for one of their deals right now. So I'm telling you, just the magic that happens in person is so much better, I
I
think.
love I agree with you 110%. I think being on video is a good way to kind of kick it off, but then once you're in person, I love these said break breaks. I say that all the time. Break bread, bread and a brew or a coffee or whatever gets you
Yeah,
going, right?
yeah,
It's just that authenticity and the body language, and I can kind of connect with you and see what type of person you are. That's huge.
yeah.
Um, so my next question for you is there are so many people that are interested in the multifamily sector and there's so many different variables to it. What would you say to somebody who is kind of on the fence? They're humming and hawing, coulda, woulda, shoulda, what should I do? What would you say to those people out there that they're not sure if this is a good thing for them to take on?
As a business?
As going into well, you know what? Okay, let's break it up then. Someone from, as
Okay.
opposed to a limited partner or even just getting into the multifamily sector, what would you say
Yeah.
to somebody that, okay, or even a W 2 employee, people that are
Mm.
kind of on the fence to jump in and take that leap? And maybe give a little background to your story. Like, were you a W 2 employee? And then all of a sudden you realize, hey, man, this isn't for me. I want to go all in on this. So start with a little background, and then what would you tell people who are on the fence?
So I was not a W-2 employee. I've been an entrepreneur for a long time. I've owned a couple
Okay.
businesses. I own an agency, a marketing agency right now. So that is
Okay.
my day job, right? But I've always loved real estate. I've never gotten out of it. I've always liked the value that real estate can bring to you. One of the things I say about real estate is it has no ceiling, but it also has no floor sometimes. And so it's
It's all over the
yeah,
place.
yeah, yeah, it can be. So somebody, and I've had these conversations. So some of my investors are tech people who are W-2, been in the business for a long time and are ready to get out, or they see their retirement getting closer and closer. And as we all know what's going on with the stock market right now, people's losing money in their 401ks and inflation and whatnot. And when inflation started happening this year and started going up and up, some of my investors paused, like, okay, what's going on? We may want to hang on for a moment. So I pivoted and I started talking about why inflation is good for multifamily. Inflation is good because rents go up, which means our value goes up. And inflation has the direct opposite effect on your assets as it does your cash. And so if you leave your 100,000 sitting in your account for the next 12 months, it's only worth 90,000 in 12 months, where you could put that 100,000 in a multifamily complex. And, there's no promise on returns, but most of them are, looking to try to double your money in the next 5 to 7 years. That is better than putting it in your 401k or stock market or something, and people are losing money left and right because of what's going on. So I'm trying to show them it's a hedge against inflation, which we've always talked about, but seeing inflation for the first time for a lot of people, maybe it's not the first time, but it's pretty
Yeah.
significant how high it's jumping in such a short amount of time, right?
Correct.
And so now it's real to them. Now you're talking about the problem that they're facing. And so one of the things I try to tell my team, or I try to tell other people who are looking to raise capital for deals, or get investors into deals, is start talking about the problems that they're facing. They almost don't care about you as much as they care about them and their
Correct.
money, right? And so really start talking about what's going on in the economy, what they can do to protect themselves, the tax benefits while we still have them, and just all the solutions to the problems that they're facing. There's so many. I could just go on and on. I really could. But really, I'm focusing on inflation right now, you know?
Yeah, well, no, and that's great because I have even just friends and colleagues and people that are, they're like, why are you getting into this? And this kind of goes into another question that was really popular because I'm a part of a few different groups as well. When I mentioned, hey, I'm doing this, what do you guys want to hear from people that have been successful or have been in this game for a while? And there was a repetitive question that came up, and that was, if you were, I know you weren't, you didn't really have a W 2, but you were in real estate, right? So,
Mhm.
what made you go into a field that may not always have a consistent cash flow? Where a
Mm,
W
mm.
2, right? Even though, yeah, you're working for somebody else, you have benefits, you have a salary, commission, etc. What got you excited about being in real estate? You didn't leave a W 2, so you can't use that example, but why be in a sector that doesn't have stability or an even flow of cash flow when you can work for somebody else?
Mm. I think the problem with working with somebody else is that you have lack of control. So it's funny because I'm thinking out loud while I'm answering this question, but if I were to talk to somebody like that right now, they're in a W-2 because they think they have control, but really they're limited, right? They're limited to what that company does, what their boss wants, the hours that they have to work. And most of the time when people say that they want to have money for retirement or they want to make $1 million or whatever it is, it's almost never for the money, ever. In fact, it's probably never for the money. It's always for the freedom. It's always for what the money buys them. I actually was listening to a TikTok yesterday, and it was a guy giving 5 things he learned now that he's financially independent, of things you should not do. For instance, play the lottery. He also said, don't pay for food to be delivered, blah, blah, blah. This millionaire jumps on and stitches it and said, I'm going to challenge you on that because you're in a different state. Yes, I get the whole, I was a Dave Ramsey person and I was financially free, paid off my house, drove a used car, did all the things. But when you get to a certain financial status, all of a sudden paying somebody $15 to deliver your food so you can close a deal and make $30,000 is worth it, you know? And
I
and he
agree.
said, I said I would never buy a mansion. I would never buy a nice uh, new car. But the reason that we do that is for tax benefits. It's because we get to write that off. And he popped open his garage and there's 2 RVs in there. And he said, this one saved me 80,000 in taxes. This one saved me 90. He said, by the way, each one of these makes me $5,000 a month in income. And somebody would say, yeah, but you have a $650 payment. Yeah, but it makes me $5,000 in income and I get to write off my taxes because it's business. And so when you get to a certain level, you do make those decisions. So until you get there, yes, you need to save money. Don't put your money in something that's going to lose, like, what's going on right now. I really tell people not to do a 401k.
Mm-hmm.
Do self-directed, invest your money yourself. Um, anyway, so I would say for most people, it has to be about the freedom. They have to want to dream bigger, and you can get there so much faster when you invest in real estate, whether that's multifamily or commercial. But also, I kind of talk people out of doing single family unless they're buying a big portfolio because if your tenant moves out of that house and they can't pay their mortgage, or you can't pay your mortgage if you have one, you know? It's a maybe it's okay if you don't have one, but for most people, they have a mortgage on it, you know?
Yeah.
And a maintenance issue is gonna really eat up all your profit. But take a 100-unit complex and you have 10 tenants move out. I mean, most of the time you can have up to 40% of your tenants move out and you'll still break even. So, I don't know. I just
No.
hedge my bet with being able to scale. Mhm.
No, you got that right. What was it? I think heard, forgot what I was watching. When they all start to blend together, like you're listening to all these podcasts or watching all these YouTube videos. And I think he advised you wanted to be a tax write off, put a logo on it. And he had an RV and he's like, put a logo on it. You
Yeah,
see this?
yeah,
And it
yeah.
has like his business name. He's like, you see this fanny pack? Put a logo on it. And I was just like cracking up because he was making how to educate people on taxes fun and entertaining and trying to get people, hey, get into multifamily. And I think
Mhm.
he started a multifamily and then he ventured away and eventually also got into storage as
Yeah,
well.
storage is good too, yeah.
Yeah, that's absolutely phenomenal. So I'm also intrigued in that
Mobile
too.
home parks. Yeah, there's some good stuff out there. All real estate, right? It's all
All
real
real
estate.
estate, baby. And that's the
Yeah.
thing. And I tell people it is like the stock market where it goes up and down, but it's always going up.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so, you
I
know,
wrote an article recently, one of my recent blog,
oh, you have
you
a
know
blog? Let's give
yeah,
a
it's
plug, y'all. What is
yeah.
that? Okay, okay, so first of all, tell us what is the name of the blog? Let's hear it.
Well, it's on my company website, onevisioncapital.com.
Okay.
So I just post a blog and I talk about inflation, I talk about what the market's doing, whatnot. But one of the things that we have to realize right now when you're asking about the risk is there are things, we're not naive. There is risk associated with this, right? So one of the things you want to do is make sure you're getting into a market where if employment gets wiped out for some reason, it doesn't wipe out a whole town. So you want to make sure that you're in a bigger MSA, that you're closer to a bigger city, that employment is up and there's job diversification in different industries, tech and medical and whatever, just make sure that the market you're looking at is not some podunk little town in the middle of nowhere. And I have looked at those, by the way, and I wanted to get them, but nobody else did, and for good reason, you know.
Okay, yeah, look at the migration trends, right?
Yes,
Where is
I love
everybody
that.
going?
Yeah, did you know that U-Haul is the one of the factors of how they determine where the migration is? It's one-way rentals is how they determine it.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, it's
That
pretty
is
interesting.
that is new to because I always try to look up like, okay, how do they figure out these migration trends? And so one, everybody also always tells me follow Starbucks. They are major diggers and marketing. If there's a Starbucks, they come up, and they have reports based off people's SIM cards and
Yeah,
their
and
cell
and
phones,
actually having a Starbucks in a certain mile radius increases the value of your real estate already. Like,
right?
yeah, so they're not going to go into a place that isn't going to have some sort of growth coming. Um, there's a small town up the road that I've known for 10 years that the growth was coming here. And I happened to have a conversation with an investor today. And I said, I've known for 10 years, I have not invested over there, but I've known for 10 years. It's really close to Austin. So of
Hmm.
course you're going to have that with everything going on with Tesla and Oracle and all that.
Yeah.
But you definitely want to be in a bigger MSA. You want to make sure your DSCR is 1.25 or higher, so definitely check out underwriting when you're looking at somebody else's deal if you're going to invest in it. You want to make sure that you're with a team that has experience, has gone full circle um, on several properties, and I know it's scary on your first one. We partnered with people who had experience, so that's how we did it. And so I would say almost to some people, don't go out and do the first one on your own. Like partner up with somebody who has experience because if you're taking investors' money, you really want to hit it up the park on your first one. You do not want to be the guinea pig all by yourself. And that's the other thing I learned in this business. It is such a team sport. Like it takes an entire village to raise capital, to get your team together with your property manager and your lender and your due diligence, your inspectors, and hiring new people. Like it's a team sport and everybody brings something to the table and it's such an awesome thing. So and I'll give you an example. I had another team that I knew was 150 short on a deal that they had up in Dallas. And I have an investor who's invested with me on several deals, and I know he usually does one to $200,000. So I said, I'll send it to him. You owe me nothing. like whatever you need. If you need it, if he does it, great. If he doesn't, and he did. He invested in their deal and they were so grateful. And I'm not asking for anything. I'm just like, here you go, get your deal done. And
Yeah.
so it was funny when we first went into this. It was this at first you're like uh, scarcity a little, you kind of have a scarcity mindset. And we had to just knock that out real quick. Like, no,
Sink or swim,
it's,
girl, sink or swim.
yeah, it's abundance. Like, it takes a whole village to take these things down with your brokers and everybody. So don't be afraid to talk to people. Don't be afraid to share information and share your deal and ask questions and seek out help, seek referrals. So,
I like that. And I always take notes because sometimes there's things that I want to go back to. And I do want you to elaborate on a couple things, time permitting. One, you hit on another big concern that newbies have getting into this sector is building your team, right?
hmm
That's such a huge deal. People are going to work with those they like, know, and trust. Okay.
yep,
That's the
yep.
bottom line. I want to be able to hustle with you and break bread with you. Okay.
hmm
So, that being said, when
Now I have
you were
to talk.
starting out, what did you look for in people whether it was online and then in person? What were some factors that really helped you seal the deal with the people that are now your team today? Yeah.
I learned by what I didn't like. For instance, if I reached out to somebody for information and they took a while to respond to me, and I'm not just talking hours, I'm talking days, and then I
Ooh.
have to ask again, and then I have to ask again, I was just like, no.
Mm-mm.
But the people who showed up, did what they said they were going to do, um, really one of the guys that I added to my team, his name's Jeremy. He's in the army and he's young, but he's driven. Like I've never met somebody as driven as he is. Like he is a workhorse and he's going to get stuff done. And so he ended up sending me a deal. I met him at a conference and he wanted to say, do you need anything for your team? Everybody asked me that. They want to join my team. I was like, I don't know, we'll see. And so he ends up sending me a deal and we start working on it together. And just the way his work ethic, like he did what he said he was going to do. He made the calls he said he was going to make. He got the information. He showed up. He put money up. He invested in deals with us. And so he just showed that he wanted to be a part of it. And that for me was huge. And so I was like, you need to join our team, you know. Um, I actually am reading, I don't know if you've heard of it yet. Ed Milet has a new book out called The Power of One More.
The
And
power of one more.
yes, and you need to read it. And it's actually got me, it's really kicked me in the gear the last few days. It talks about goals. It talks about the chapter I just read today was on team dynamics
Who's
and
the
what you,
author?
Ed Milet.
Okay.
I got to hear him speak in Vegas in April. He's a pretty powerful motivational speaker. But the team dynamic chapter that he talks about, what you bring to a team, and he talked about some of the big sports players and what they brought to their team. I'm not going to go over it with you because I'm going to mess it all up. But I will tell you, it's very inspiring that you need to bring to the team what you expect. So if you expect your team to be relentless in their pursuit of a good deal, then you have to be relentless in pursuit of a good deal as well. So you can't be lazy showing up only one day a week to do some work. Like there needs to be consistency. So if you want to be valuable to somebody else's team, show up every day, give your best every day, every day.
I love it. That's so
Yeah.
good. You would
Yeah.
think it was be not, and this might sound bad, but whatever, I'm gonna say it anyways. You would think that would be common sense. That would
You would
be
think,
common
yeah.
sense, but common sense is not so common, y'all. It's not.
Yeah.
And our
Human
family,
beings love to create drama in our life for some reason.
no,
Like we're like,
don't
we're gonna
be a victim for the
procrastinate.
love of God and be a hard worker. And I'm happy that the gentleman, and would you say his name was Jeremy?
Jeremy, yeah.
Jeremy is our family's all military, so Army, Marines,
Oh,
Navy.
totally.
So I
Yeah, my uncle is our
yeah,
underwriter and he's
yeah.
Navy. And so like,
You
some of these,
know,
yeah, I
that's
love these military guys.
I love it. They hustle, they hustle. You get shit done. Can I swear?
Yeah.
I'll
Yeah.
get it done if they decide to
Yeah.
edit it.
They're gonna bleep
That's
it out.
great. And I love that you recommended the book. Because that was also another one of my questions is I know Michael Blanc is a source of information. I love him. I know you mentioned Bigger Pockets. where else do you recommend our viewers to go to for sources and information that you feel are credible and it's an easy listen or an easy read to comprehend?
So I will have to tell you personally, I'm really into motivational stuff more than economic stuff. Like, in fact, I just watched a YouTube video on the state of the economy, what happens when world empires change. It was really interesting. Talks about the U.S. against China right now.
Oh yeah.
But normally I don't fall for that stuff. More normally I'm Ed Milet, Brian Buffini, Donald Miller. Like I'm into motivational. I'm into telling stories. I'm into being authentic and real and inspired and have high energy. So a lot of what I listen to is that. So the podcast I listen to is the Ed Milet show, the Brian Buffini show, the Donald Miller's Business Made Simple and Marketing Made Simple. And then books, if I could tell you books, one of the best books that I've read, I read it I started reading it in 2021. It's called the, hold on, I have it on the shelf. It's called The Energy of Money. And I'm going to butcher, I don't remember the author's name. I'll have to look it up. But uh, an investor told me about it in passing a year and a half ago. They were a keynote speaker at an event, and they said, and just in passing, she pauses and she said, "Has anybody read Energy and Money?" And we're like, "No." She was like, "You need to read it." And then I just downloaded it right then, and it took me about 6 months to pick it up. But for those who have trouble talking about money, I mean, if you're not used to talking about $1 million or $20 million or $50 million and it be real to you, or you can't ask somebody if they'd be willing to invest 50 or $100,000 in your next deal, read the book, because a lot of that has to do with yourself, your beliefs, your upbringing, your limiting beliefs, and she helps you. I mean, you got to do work in this book. Like you have assignments, you got to write things down, good
Holy.
and bad. Like she digs in and helps you pull out these misconceptions and where they come from in your life and helps you kind of get rid of them. But that book was a game changer for me. I was
I'm
afraid to ask people for money.
I'm so glad that you are bringing up so many excellent, see that I didn't even think about, and that so many people do live in a scarcity mindset, and I know I struggled with that for a long time, growing up, with a single mom and all the yada yada, all the things, right? And you're like, dang, man, people can, it's, how do you put it? You need to change your mental. And another thing that somebody had taught me is don't ever spend from your own pocketbook. I know there's
Yeah,
more to
yeah,
that,
other
right?
people's money. Yeah.
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 And because sometimes I was like, oh my God, somebody can wire just like 36 million. One of our deals, it was one person. He's like, hey, we're going to switch this from an 80-20 though. We'll do a 90-10. We'll be your KP. We'll sign on the equity, and I'll do the full 36 million. And I was just like, my mind was blown because I'm like, holy goodness, one person can just to do all of that. And I feel like that's even a good book for me, for everybody, because people have unconscious biases. And you kind of mentioned this about your childhood or what you got brought up with about how money is, or if it's bad or it's good. Money is paper. Money can
Yeah.
is a monetary value that you're just sharing. You can do good with it, you could do bad with it. I feel money truly brings out whatever that person truly is. If you're a
Same.
great person, right, then you're going to do phenomenal things with that money. You're going to give back on a massive level. If you're a shitbag, you're going to do some bad. You're not going to do
Yeah,
good
exactly.
things with the money.
Yeah, it
So
amplifies. It's an amplifier for sure. Yeah.
you hit,
Yeah.
yes, that's
One of the
it.
things that I one of the things she says in the book, because she says energy or money is just a form of energy and you
Correct.
exchange it, right? And so she has this visual that I just visualized. Money comes in every single month. I have money that comes in from my company every single month and cash flow that comes in, and it also goes out, and it's supposed to. I'm not supposed to hoard it. I'm supposed to do good with it. I'm supposed to invest. I'm supposed to help my community and my family and my friends. Like I said, nobody wants money just to have money. They want it for the things that it buys them. And most people want money so they can have the freedom. If somebody needed them across the country, they can just jump on a plane and help them out financially or help them out with their time or take care of their sick friend for 6 months and it not be a big deal. Like they want I was talking to one of my partners this morning. We were having breakfast, and I was like, I need you to dream a little. I need you to tell me what you want. Like, I need, when we meet next time, I want you to paint that picture for me and tell me what that looks like. And he says, I want to be able to jump on a plane at any time and go visit my son in Seattle, who he didn't get to grow up with because he's just now getting to know him as an adult. He goes, I want to be a part of his life, and I want to be able to do that like that. Like, oh, you want me to go up this weekend? Cool. Some kids have a game. Cool. I'll be there. Like, and it's no big deal, you know? It was funny. A friend of mine who has a private plane, but somebody was, I don't know, had an opinion about it. And I said, look, he didn't get a private plane just to have a private plane. He got a private plane because he was commuting to Houston back and forth every day. And that's a 3 hour drive there and a 3 hour drive back from where we live. I said, he got a plane to buy his time back. So he can make a 45-minute drive to Houston and be back for dinner every day to be with his family. I was like, that's why you get a plane, you know?
That's phenomenal. And I'm glad that you said that. And I'm because we also made a statement, and you said the same thing earlier, that money buys you freedom, right? And
Hmm.
this is one thing that I have learned that a lot of the wealthy do is that you use that money to buy your time back. So if you guys, all the people who are listening, as Melissa's already advised in multiple ways, the more money that you make, you can now, delegate other things as well. So you can have someone clean your house. You can spend time with your children. Have somebody cook good, healthy, nutritious meals. So when you're exhausted from working, you're not calling DoorDash or just figuring out whatever is in the fridge. The gentleman in Austin, he has the ability to not deal with a bunch of airports, not chaos.
Hmm.
I'm there in 3 hours, get my meeting, and I come back and I have dinner so I can be a present father and husband.
Hmm.
People don't look sometimes, and I get it, it's hard sometimes, and you hit the nail on the head. Dream big, dream
Hmm.
big. If money was no option, what would you do? What would you want to do?
Yeah.
And would you not agree multifamily can get you there?
Absolutely. Faster than most pretty much any investment that you can get in. Like, I can't think of any investment off the top of my head that's going to at least double my money in 5 years. So, and that may vary a little depending on what's going on with interest rates right now. But ultimately, listen, in 5 years, if the market's not great and then we're not going to sell it. We're going to hold on to it
Correct.
and keep cash flowing it. That's just, you have the asset to hedge against the fact that, well, maybe you didn't make a lot of money. I had another friend who was invested in multifamily in two different complexes in San Antonio. She didn't take a dime for 3 years. It was a Class C property, and that was what they chose. And I think she made $40,000, $50,000 in 3 years off of her investment. It's better than sitting in your bank doing nothing.
Thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
And I know we have 1 more minute left. I want to be
Okay.
first of all, Melissa, you're so cool. I actually have more that I have like going in my head. I would have a question and then you would say something like, oh my God, I gotta ask her this.
Oh,
But I don't
okay.
want to, hold you hostage, but I'll have this be my last and final question then.
Okay.
Just to wrap it up with everybody in a nutshell, what would you say if you can put your journey and this amazing decision that you have taken on to succeed, put it in a sentence or put it in a phrase, something that it embodies this journey that you feel would help motivate people to just get out there and do it?
Man, I don't know. You put me on the spot.
I know. You know what? And that's another thing. And I don't know if they'll edit this or not, but this is all impromptu, you guys.
Yeah.
There's so
I'm like,
many.
I didn't know these questions.
No, she didn't know these questions. And I think that is what makes this the most authentic,
Yeah.
interview and discussion of talking with people because you're getting to see their personality and them just kind of being on the spot. And I think that's
Yeah.
huge. Okay. Or even just a one
Okay,
word.
so I'll tell you what my one word is right now.
Something. Let's hear it,
This
baby.
came from the Ed Milet book, and he was like, he says he's had one word that's his overarching theme for the whole year, and all his goals fall under it. And one of them that he suggested was the word relentless, which I love, right? Be relentless. And that really, when you need to be driven and you're really tired and you're really wanting to procrastinate, if your word is relentless, you're not going to do that. You're not going to procrastinate. While I was looking up synonyms for relentless, huntress came up. And
Huntress.
yeah, and I was
Ooh,
like, I
I
like
kind of
that.
like that.
I
Huntress.
know.
Ooh,
So literally I have two
give me my
words.
spear.
Yeah, exactly. Relentless huntress is what I've adopted. And that sentence alone made me go and do some crazy, scary things. Like there's an owner, we made an offer on a property for 4 weeks ago, and we have not heard back from him. I went to the property today and sat with the property manager. I prayed before I went, by the way, like, please, Lord, make this a good
Thank
thing.
God.
Yeah. And I sat down with him. That guy opened up like an open book, told me all kinds of things. He's my advocate now, gave me the owner's
He's your
information
champion.
directly. Yeah, because we hadn't been able to get to the owner directly. We've been dealing with the broker. And so I now have the owner's information. I've crafted an email that I'm about to send out saying, hey,
God,
we
you know,
want to
all
sit
the
down.
vibes.
Yeah,
Good
thanks.
vibes,
Send it, send it,
girl.
send it.
Good vibes.
So, relentless huntress.
Rel-
That is my sentence right now. I'm gonna go get. I'm not gonna wait for it to come for me. I'm gonna go get, and nothing's gonna keep me from getting it.
Girl,
Yeah.
is there a mic? Drop
Yeah.
the mic, drop
Drop
the
the
mic,
mic.
drop
Drop
the
the
mic, drop the mic. You
mic.
know,
Yeah.
I appreciate you, Melissa. I was so excited to get to connect with you
Yeah.
and spend this time. It's also being a female. There's not a lot of women in the sector. I know
I
we're 2 minutes
know.
over time. Your website, one more time for everybody, is onevisioncapital.com,
Yeah,
correct?
it's a number one, not the word, the number
The
one.
number one visioncapital.com. So everybody go to Melissa's website, check out her blog. You know, she's a wealth of information, especially support your female entrepreneurs out there. She's kicking ass and
Mm,
taking names.
love it.
Appreciate you, Melissa. I look forward to connecting you with you again in the future. Thanks for
Thank
your
you.
time. Have a good day.
You too.